There, Shanna Cramer here with another 10-minute painting challenge. And yes, I just did paint this one in acrylic about an hour ago, but now I'm painting it in watercolor. And this is the painting that I've been practicing for. So I don't know about you, but for me, the first 2 or 3 paintings I do in a day just never really quite work out. So I kind of have to do warm-up paintings before I get to the real painting. This one may take a little more than 10 minutes, but I'm going to try to keep it short. And this is meant to be the real painting. So what I have going on in the near future is I'm teaching a watercolor class for the Red River Watercolor Society, and teaching watercolor to watercolor artists. Isn't that something? So yeah, so I want to do something springy, and I think I've got it here. Bees are springy, flowers are springy. And so in order to warm up for this painting, I've just been practicing with acrylic. I know, right? It makes no sense. Because I find acrylic painting to be much easier. Much easier. I can just throw down some acrylic paint, and you know, if you mess it up, you just fix it. It's not really complicated. You just do it. At least I do. I know some people, that may not be the case. Some people are more comfortable with watercolor or oils or whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely more comfortable with acrylics. So whenever I need to paint something quickly, acrylic is my go-to. All right, so I'll get some. All right, no more details over there. Let's get to this big flower. I still want to do this in as short a time as possible. So maybe it won't be done in 10 minutes, but maybe 12. How about that? We'll set a 12-minute goal. But that's 12 minutes with sketching it all out and backgrounds and start to finishes. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And this last one is right over there. Okay, so we've got some flowers, some things. All right, moving on. Now our last little piece is this bee. So here's the deal with the bee. It's really easy in acrylic to get those highlights. You can see all those little fuzzy highlights on the fuzzy butt. And that's really easy to do in acrylic. This is watercolor. Watercolor, how you get white is you leave the white of the paper. So you just don't paint that area at all, which can be tough, you know, especially when you're a scribbly painter like me. I just kind of put paint all over and then, you know, keep pushing it around until it ends up in a happy place. This bee though, what a weird shape. Yeah, so in watercolor, your sketch is way more important than acrylic. Because acrylic, you just make adjustments as you go. It's not a big deal. With watercolor, you got to nail it right off the bat because you don't have time to make modification decisions later on. You have to get it right. Which is why I'm not going to limit myself to 10 minutes on this one. Okay, so I do want to make sure that I'm leaving that. All right, so a couple of ways that you can leave your areas white. One is to mask it. Well, that takes more than 10 minutes and more patience than I was born with. So the other method is to just not paint that area. So that's what I'm going to attempt. You could also cheat and use the gouache method where you come back in with gouache and paint over that with white gouache. I mean, you could do that, and I might, but I'm going to try to do it with just leaving the paper white. Okay, so I've got the paper damp all back here behind the bee, and let's see, we're gonna have some kind of greens off in the background, darker greens than that. We're gonna have some reds. If I can mix my reds and greens a little bit, and there we are, then I can kind of get a better color. And a little bit of darker. Okay, so I've got some darks that kind of come in, scribbling down in here. All right. And then I've got some pinks coming in over here. get a nice bright pink just right off over here. Just a big old punch of pow. There it is. Kind of coming right close to the bee, and my background here is all wet, so I know it's all going to fade into each other and blend, and that's as it's meant to be. Get it, bee? Sorry, that was terrible. All right, onward. And if your edges aren't soft enough, scribble some water into it. Scribble some transparent. Okay, so that is my fuzzy wuzzy bee background. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure I've got the water coming all the way up to the bee. There. Highlights aren't gonna show unless your water comes all the way up to them. Moving on. All right, so I have some blur balls off in the background over here. So I'll just add a little bit of water. Okay, now some of this is going to be pink, some of this is going to be green. And I just want fuzzy blur balls is what I'm after right now, not details. All right, so we'll take some pink. That's in the background. We got some pink down in here in the background, some down in here. Nice job on the details, eh? Huh? Not getting bogged down on details. Okay, a little bit darker pink coming on up in here. There. And then we'll go into that green. Let's do it like a dirty green. We'll just drag a little bit of that pink into it. Dirty it up a little. Okay, maybe a little bit more green on the end of that. Once you've got your color down, then you can modify it in any way you see fit. You just have to have the color there first. All right, I've got more greens coming up over here on the left side that I haven't added yet. Hopefully my paper's still wet enough. Let's see, this is an old palette. I haven't used it in quite a while. It's called Brights. Yep, I named my palettes like that. I don't know what this is. Let's call it Brights. So these are colors I haven't used in ages. Not making excuses, just saying ages. Okay, not getting bogged down in details. No, I'm not. Not those details either. Okay. Oop. Stop. Move on. All right, so now I want to come back into my flower up here and kind of work on some of those areas. Let's see. I'll just take my damp brush. I'll work on that back petal first. And this is an area where if you leave some white speckles, you're good, because there's some little white speckles on the center of that flower. Take in some pink. And what color is this? This is quinacridone magenta. It's a gorgeous color, beautiful color. Very pink. So I have damp paper here because I just added a touch of water to it. And I'm just dropping in my, kind of my stripes. Now I know I want light colors down here, so I'll just have to leave that blank. Yeah, because you can't lighten it back up again. All right, now I'll come next to that and do this next. Clean out the brush a little. Coming on up into this next area. And drag the brush quickly. Leave some sparkles. I'll go into that alizarin. Oh, I'm sorry, that magenta, a little bit of alizarin maybe, just to redden it up a little. Look at that flow. Isn't that delicious? Fun, fun. Let that color move around. I could do definitely darker in here. Maybe more purple or blue instead of red. That could definitely happen. That's a bluer, darker color up in there. Touches of that, maybe. Ooh, goodness sakes. All right, back off there. Getting carried away. Jeez, having fun adding color and then whoops, way overboard. All right, it's cool, it's fine, no big deal. I do want some more of that magenta in there because right now it looks right, which means it's wrong. Because this is going to dry probably, I don't know, 10 to 20% lighter. It's going to dry a lot lighter than what you see here. So my paper is damp right now. So when I'm dropping new color into it, I just have to make sure I'm dropping thicker color into it to get it to stay. And just some little flower shapes. Let's not get too involved. All right, clean the brush. And I don't want to have to switch to a smaller brush yet. I really like this one. All right, so I'm coming up into that last petal sticking out on the left-hand side at the top. Okay, and then that's got a lot of white in it, so I'll kind of take my pink down here, stick to the bottom. Ooh, look at that, how nice. Okay, I'll get some more red. And when I say red, I mean alizarin crimson. And my pink is quinacridone magenta. And this really seems like it should have some blue in it. I guess that's how I ended up with that big glob of purple, huh? All right. Moving on, and just to let my colors bleed together. Sometimes a good idea, sometimes a bad idea. Today I'm going to call it a good idea. So I'm going right into this front large petal. Just dampen the background. Hopefully I'm not ruining it. I guess if I am, I'll just do it again, right? Not a big deal. Now we'll get those really dark, dark reds, because that's going to come right along the center of that leaf, and even a little bit along the back side of it. I guess it's not a leaf, it's a petal, right? A little bit right up front, but only a little. It's mostly pink. Okay, this, yeah, let's do it, what the heck. Okay, that petal got a little big, so I think I'm going to shrink it up so it's almost to the green. All right. This is very, very, very pink at the top. Ooh. Well, as long as I've got purple in there, I'll paint the bottom. It wouldn't hurt to switch to a smaller brush at this point. I just don't want to. I'm being stubborn. Okay, I'll take more of this darker color. I've got this coming in right off the side of this front petal. There. I just don't want to cover up my bright whites down in there. All right. Well, we're getting some pretty good flower shapes, I think. We could do a little bit more detail on this flower, or we could do the stem on this flower. Yeah, we better do the detail. So I've got kind of a blur flower right up in there. And then I've got a blur flower coming right up here. Didn't leave enough room for it, so I'm just gonna have to work around that. darker purple coming down on the bottom. All right. Now that last one petal, that one's going to have the most detail, so I'm going to wait before doing that one. Actually, I think I have to bring it up. I think I have to bring this one up here. I think that's where it ended up. Okay, now I'll wait patiently. And I don't want hard edges, so I'm going to keep an eye on those and kind of try to lift up the edges if it starts to get too hard. There. This should also be a blur. And if you're going to be lifting like this, which I don't know, it happens often, more often than you plan to do, I feel like. But if you're going to be lifting, you got to pay attention to what colors you're using. So I was using a combination of quinacridone magenta and permanent alizarin crimson. So permanent alizarin will not lift. Regular alizarin will lift. So pay attention to the colors. Quinacridones are pretty staining. Phthalos are pretty staining. Often they don't come back out. Typically you can find another alternative to those that's maybe a little more lift friendly. Let's keep on moving here. Okay, so I've got my stem down here that I want to do, but let's maybe get to that bee, huh? I am going to switch to a smaller brush for this. Should I? Don't know. Yes. Okay, and this bee is my favorite color, quinacridone gold. It's almost all quinacridone. I mean, yeah, there's other colors in there too, but that's a whole lot of quinacridone gold. Goldy, goldy, gold. All right, so I want to get some kind of damp in here, not too much water. So here's all the light parts of the bee that I'm doing right now, just with tinted water. And I might as well, since I just have the water, I might as well fill them all in. It's okay, I can have the darker colors later. Now here's where I want to be careful, because I've got a lot of highlights on that bee's back that I can't cover up. He's got a big fuzzy belly, but then kind of a skinnier body back here. And a big stinger. Okay, he's got kind of a little skinny fat leg there. All right, so now that I've got that kind of damp area, now I can come back in with a little bit more powerful color. Just kind of punch it in. Ooh, gorgeous, lovely. Oh, quinacridone gold, best color ever. I just love it. Look at that, look at how powerful that is. It just takes over the world. Look at that in the highlights and the legs. Gorgeous. Very nice. Okay. So I want that to dry just a little bit, damp dry, so I can come in and add the darks. And I will add the darks while this is still wet, but I just want it to be not shiny wet. Okay, damp wet, not shiny wet. Then I'll come back over here and do some details. So I have that great big stem, which I feel like is mostly purple. Maybe kill it down with a little green. Ooh, not that green. Ew. Stop. New color. There we go. Clean up that palette a bit. So let's go back to that purpley ready. And then maybe this green. Let's try it. Huh, yeah, that green. That's the green. That's nice, much better. Okay. So I'm just dampening this. I want it to have, let's see, coffee color, can we say? Coffee consistency. So I'm just bringing this in. Just keep an eye on, you remember where your highlights are. That's the only thing you have to remember with watercolor. Well, not the only thing. It's an important thing you have to remember with watercolor. Where are your highlights? Okay, and then I'll come back in with that darker color again. Basically the same color, just less water. And here's where you can drop in some color shifts. which is always gorgeous. So maybe I'll go a little bit more green on this side. Ooh, you know what would be fun? Quinacridone gold would be fun. That's exactly what I'm saying. I know, this color just goes everywhere. All right, settle down, don't go overboard. Okay, because you still have to connect it somewhere. Okay, okay. So I've got that stem. I know there are a couple of other little stems here and there. That's my bee. Still too damp. Okay, so I think I'll come back down here and work on this flower a little more. So it comes up behind this leaf and down here. Okay, and then I'll take some of that magenta. Just kind of draw on a few of those veiny veins. A little too much water, it looks like. It's starting to float everywhere. Sometimes having your colors float everywhere is good, and sometimes it might end up where you don't want it. All right, getting some hard edges up there. I might just have to go over this part one more time just to delete some edges. All right, nope, not yet. Okay, anything we want to do over here? Maybe not, maybe we don't want that detail. Well, this green can be a little more defined. It is one of the more important details, I think. In order, I would say it's bee flower, then this bright green stem, bright green leaf. Okay, so I need to keep moving on here. How's my bee? Too wet. All right, so I'll add a few more stems. A little waterier. And I've got that weird random stem color in there that's like magenta, purple, and I think that is sap green. Just a little more texture in there. All right, so how are our leaves over here doing? Let's darken that, the foreground leaf. So we know this needs to be kind of dark. And that same color comes up in here, and a little bit up in here. Okay. And then I'm taking a damp brush, I just dunked it in the water, shaking it out, and then there we go, blend it out. Same thing I'll do over here, clean brush, damp brush, blend it out. Okay, really, really, really want to deal with that bee. Ah, might be too soon. Well, yep, too soon for details there. It's okay, I have patience. Not really. Okay, let's just do the bee anyway. So I think my dark colors here, I think I have raw umber here, and then burnt sienna. I like the raw umber better. All right, let's see what we can do with that. We'll go ahead and start over here at the stinger. Need a little more water. Ooh, maybe a little more water than that even. Okay. So starting at the stinger, trying to remember that there are stripes. They're just not that prominent. I mean, they kind of are, but not in the big scheme of things. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of blue, some kind of blue to that brown, just to help it to be more on the black side and a little less on the brown, because, I don't know, brown bees, they're just not. Okay, not too focused on the details here. Well, I guess if you don't focus on the details now, when do you focus on them? I'd like to say never. I think that's a little more blue on that bee's head. And on the underbody. Yep, I think I'm going to have to practice a few more bees before teaching this one. Most certainly, definitely. Okay, and then I'm also considering using gouache for that highlight, because that highlight, smooth it out a little. Yeah, you can't see the wings on it. You can see some little antennas. Okay, all right, need to stop there. All right, now I'm going to come back up into this background area because it's not dark enough. So clear water, or as clear as your water is at this point, which I don't know about you, but mine is fairly pinky brown. I'm just trying to lay this down quick and not disturb the underlayers, but I do need it to be darker. Okay, all right, so I'm going to take this dark pink, pinky purple, more pinky purple, more pinky purple, bright, punch it in there. Okay, punch some in down over here as well. And then I'll go with my dark greeny purple. Kind of that stem color again. Nope, needs to be thicker. So I want it to be dark enough that it looks like there's a highlight around the bee. That's kind of the key here. Tilt some water around. Okay, so now I'm dealing with that highlight a little bit better. So now I can come back right up to that bee, leave the highlight. The highlight is so important. And kind of just paint around that. All right. And this is my first attempt in this painting. I feel like I'm going to have to try it at least one more time. Bright spots in there. Another bright spot right there. Okay. All right, so I think this area now needs a little bit more detail, and I can probably do that now. Make sure there isn't any extra water hanging out there. All right, back to the slightly smaller brush. Uh-oh. Okay. So that should be white, so I won't touch it. This should be green. I'm just trying to add some darks. Without getting bogged down in the details. That's the hard part. Okay, and then I want some pinks. So my pinks at this point, this leaf back here should be very detailed. Well, more than some of the others. But it shouldn't be dark. So, a fine line, right? Okay, so now I think I have to do this, maybe the front of the flower again, bring some darks into that. This shouldn't be too hard to do. Okay, and then I have an edge over here on the outside of that flower where it goes into the leaf. I know I'm getting too many details in the wrong spot. Just work with me here. And that can blur. Okay, and then I think I'm going to have a, there. Now this one is going to be a darker purple. This is that little background flower petal or maybe a flower bud. We'll call it flower bud. Okay, so where else do we need to go with this? This area, I wanted that white, but now it seems a bit overpowering, so let's kill it down a little. There. Let's make that bee's head a little more green. I think green might be my bee color going forward, because yeah, I mean, I like this brown isn't terrible, but I like the blue in there much better. So blue is going to be my bee color. What other details might I want? I think none. I think the more I do, the more bogged down I'm going to get. So I'll just take some of this. Uh-oh. Jeez, all my phone's ringing. Okay. I'll call them back in a minute. Okay, some of this dark greeny color, greeny purpley color, and those are going to be my dots in the middle of my flower. I know all you flower people are thinking, what? You don't even know what that's called? It's okay. And this one down here actually needs a few. There, that just made it look a whole lot more detailed without much effort. All right, so I'm gonna quit with this one and I'll sketch out another one. I'll actually be back here in just a little bit with yet another different watercolor painting. I'll see you soon.